We are overcomplicating time management. We have more apps, planners, and productivity hacks than ever before, but we are still struggling to manage our time well. With every new thing that claims to be the magic bullet, we are just creating more complexity, and we're putting our to-do list in a different outfit. Productivity and work-life balance have become a cultural obsession because we just keep missing the mark. We're making it harder than it needs to be, and we are drowning in the tools meant to save us. And it's causing us to burn out. According to a study from Census-wide, 66% of American employees are struggling in 2025 with burnout. Younger generations are experiencing significantly higher rates of burnout, with 83% of 25 to 34-year-olds citing burnout. I'm sure you can relate. I can't imagine I need to persuade any of you of the negative implications we're all experiencing as a result of overcomplicated time management. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be like this? What if I told you your days don't have to race past while you simply struggle to survive? What if I told you that work-life balance is not a myth? What if I told you time management isn't actually that complicated? Would you even believe me? Past me would not have believed me. I was once an extremely frazzled, chronically overwhelmed workaholic, to the point that I had an eye twitch for about 2 years. In fact, I was such a semi-functioning train wreck that I once ran out of gas on the side of the road, surrounded by gas stations, with company-issued fuel cards in hand. The reason I didn't stop wasn't even something like a mad rush to the hospital or a high-speed chase. I was simply running late for a meeting. Even with planners, pings, and push notifications, I could not master the seemingly elusive skill of time management. But that all changed for me when I had to have my chest cut open at 29 years old. It was a scheduled surgery to correct a chest wall deformity called pectus excavatum. The doctors identified it as the root of my poor breathing and said it would likely cause heart issues if not resolved. So I agreed to undergo a 5-hour surgery and planned to be out of commission for 4 weeks. Unfortunately, I was not better 4 weeks later, and I found myself battling a staph infection in my chest. My full recovery was well over a year. As you might imagine, this was certainly a life-changing experience. Medically speaking, it was somewhat of a failure, but it was successful in the fact that it permanently transformed the way I view time. It's the reason I'm here today, because it was during my recovery I realized exactly how uncomplicated time management really is. The key is 3 simple words: prioritize, plan, protect. I can still remember the day I was readmitted to the hospital with staph in my chest. After a visit with my doctor, his office called and they said, "Hey, we've got a room ready for you on the 9th floor." I realize now what a bad sign that is, because they never have a room ready for you. So after shuffling through the lobby and enduring an hour-long effort to start an IV, I realized my body was shutting down, and I worried I was going to die. And it was in that moment I suddenly realized all the things that I thought were important that really weren't. Then I sat in that hospital bed thinking of all the times I didn't call my grandmother, or go to lunch with my mom, or pause to kiss my husband. I could think about all the times I worked late instead of walking with friends, the yoga classes I skipped, and the sunsets I missed. I was doing it all wrong. This is when I learned the first pillar that would hold up this newly refined perspective on time. We have to know how to prioritize. We have to know what's important. In the months following my surgery, I attended a workshop and learned the quote from Annie Dillard, which says, "How we spend our days is, of course, how we are spending our lives. That realization floored me. Somehow, I'd never made the connection that each day is my life. I used to say things like, if I can just make it to Friday, or things will slow down in the summer. Perhaps you too have caught yourself promising similar half-truths. According to the National Institutes of Health, over 35% of people wish they'd spent more time with their family and friends. While the Harvard Study of Adult Development, which tracked participants for over 80 years, found that most significant predictor of long and happy lives is the quality of our close relationships. I needed no other convincing. I committed to spending my life on the things that were most important. But I still had to send emails and pay bills and do laundry. So I wondered, how could I spend the time on what I wanted to do while still managing all of the things that I had to do? So from the depths of the internet to the aisles of Target, I searched for the solution. There had to be a formula or an app or a planning tool that could solve this problem. And like before, I added more. And like before, it did not work. And then one day, out of sheer exhaustion, I started mapping out my week on the back of a scratch piece of paper. I drew boxes to represent each day, and I plotted the time I'd already given away. Then in the remaining white space, I scheduled the tasks that I hoped to do that week. With a bird's eye view of my week, I could see where I'd set myself up for success and failure. I realized some deadlines were not as far as I thought, and some meetings were scheduled a little too close together. But I was able to make edits to my future before it became a stressful present. It felt good to get ahead of things. But seeing my entire week in advance also felt like a little too much to handle. So I folded it down in a way that showed only the day I was on. And I thought, I can handle that. And it helped a lot. So I did it again the following week, and then the next. And in this simple habit of mapping out each week, I discovered the power of planning. Prioritize, plan, protect. Of all of the lessons I learned during this journey, this is the most important. Our time is finite. Many of us think about time as an infinite concept. We use words like later, a while, someday. Yet in our lives, our time is finite. We only have 24 hours in each day, and we don't know how many days we get. If we can shift our mindset to view time more like a tangible measuring unit, using words like 10 minutes, or 4 o'clock, or Thursday, we can begin to manage it differently. In this, I found planning to be the art of proactively deciding how we would intentionally allocate a defined unit of time. Prioritize, plan, protect. According to the American Psychological Association, visualizing tasks through written plans improves our time management, and it helps ensure we spend time on the most important things. Planning on paper also prevented me from overbooking. A piece of paper doesn't suddenly start ringing or distract you with a new email, which made planning on paper easier to follow plans. It gave me the most focus and the best ability to complete my tasks. This became a Friday ritual that changed my life from reactive to proactive. As a result, I was able to accomplish more with less. I was able to focus on what truly mattered in my life and in my work, and I was able to do it with more effectiveness and less stress. Antibiotics aside, weekly planning is what saved my life. Prioritize, plan, protect. And my boss noticed. I remember a day very clearly She came into my office 10 minutes before I was getting ready to leave for my nephew's cross-country meet. I'd completed all my work for the day, and I'd come in early, so I felt very justified leaving 10 minutes early. And I remember she walked into my office, she said, "Hey, we've had a walk-in. Could you handle that?" And I froze. I didn't know what to do. And then I heard a voice say, "No?" And she was like, "Okay, cool, I'll have Matt do it, thanks." And she walked out of my office. And I was like, what just happened? And this is when I discovered the third part of this simple time management framework. We have to protect our plans. Prioritize, plan, protect. We can and sometimes should say no. Since time is finite, saying yes to something is actually saying no to something else. It's always a trade-off. Saying yes to a meeting is saying no to a report. Saying yes to one more episode is saying no to one more hour of sleep. If we have taken the time to decide what is most important in work and in life, and we have mapped out a plan to ensure we can focus on that, why would we not protect that plan? Furthermore, protecting our plans is often how we protect ourselves. Right now, you are all an asset to your family, your organization, and your community. If you burn out because you aren't managing your time well, you become a liability. Sometimes we need to say no, or not now, in order to protect ourselves and our ability to keep showing up for others. Prioritize, plan, protect. It may not always be easy, but it really is that simple. Prioritize, plan, protect. Decide what is most important in your life and in your work. Make a plan to focus on it. And protect that plan and your ability to execute it. Prioritize, plan, protect. Each day and each week. Prioritize, plan, protect. In work and in life. Prioritize, plan, protect. It's been over 10 years since my surgery and my first weekly planning session. I still take time every week to decide what is most important in my life and my work for the next 7 days, and I map out a plan to address it. Then I fold that plan down to focus on the day I'm on so I can be truly present in my life. By keeping it simple, I've been able to transform my life in ways I would have never imagined. I used to overcomplicate things, thinking that being more productive would somehow make me more present in my life. But it was through this simple framework that I realized being more present in my day is actually what made me more productive. It turns out you don't have to choose being present or productive. You can be present and productive by not overcomplicating time management. Just remember, prioritize, plan, protect. Thank you.